Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we've got a very nerve-wracking situation for you.
That's right. We are going to meet the in-laws.
Meeting the in-laws. So who are in-laws? These are the parents of your husband or wife.
Right. So in this case, you have the mother-in-law and your father-in-law.
That's right. So we're meeting these people for the very first time. You can imagine how nervous the man is who's meeting his future wife's parents. Let's learn all about what they talk about in today's dialogue.
Mother, Father, I'd like to introduce you to my fiancé, Bob.
Hello, Bob. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet the both of you. I've heard so much.
So, Cindy told you about bringing home her last boyfriend then. That idiot.
Shh, Thurston, you're going to scare the poor boy. Come in and have a drink. Dinner will be on in just a bit.
What'll you be having? Whiskey, bourbon? Pick your poison.
If you have a lemonade, that'd be great.
Lemonade?
Why, sure, there's some in the fridge.
Mother makes her own lemonade from scratch. It's the best.
So, what are your hobbies, son? If you want, we can do some hunting tomorrow. I've just picked up a new rifle I've been meaning to try out. Should be a real hoot.
I'm not really, I don't really hunt.
You don't hunt? Well, I'll be damned.
Bob is an animal rights activist. He doesn't believe in harming animals.
Dinner's ready. Let's go out to the patio where the pig is roasting.
Roast pig? I'm a vegetarian.
All right, we're back. So a very awkward situation. I think they might have a little bit of problems in the future.
Yeah, there are a lot of cultural differences between the characters, the son-in-law and the new parents.
The father-in-law,
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Why don't we start off by looking at a couple of different words on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
So first of all, we have the two characters, Cindy and Bob, who are getting married. So we call Bob Cindy's fiancé.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So my fiancé, and it comes from French, and it means to the person that you're going to get married to.
That's right, the person you've decided to get married to. So we say fiancé. We can say the same word for a man or a woman. So he is my fiancé. She is my fiancé.
Okay. My fiancé. Very good. So Cindy introduces her fiancé Bob to her parents, and they start talking a little bit, and her dad, Thurston, invites him to go do some hunting tomorrow.
That's right. So hunting is a sport in America and lots of places in the world where you shoot animals. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you go in the woods, you wear brown and green colors, and you shoot animals to take them home and skin them and eat them, or to keep them as trophies.
All right, so you go hunting, and, well, the way that you shoot these animals is you need to have a rifle.
A rifle. So you could also call it a hunting rifle, in this case. A rifle is a gun, but it's a very long gun.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's not a little gun that you just hold in your hand. It's very long. It'll be maybe like half a meter long.
That's right. And so oftentimes people, when they're hunting, they lie on the ground and they wait for the animals to pass, and they hide themselves, and then they shoot from a long distance.
Right. So he's talking about hunting. He's got a new rifle, and he says, yeah, we should definitely go. It should be a real hoot.
Should be a real hoot. This is a very fun spoken English phrase. It's said more by older people than by younger people. Mm-hmm. So this is why the father says it in the dialogue. A hoot should be a real good time, real fun. A hoot.
So how can you use this like, oh, the party last night was a real hoot?
Yep.
You can say that.
You could say, or she's a real hoot. She's really funny.
Okay.
She's really enjoyable.
This is a little bit more like spoken and used by maybe older people, right?
Yeah, my mother would say this. I wouldn't say this. So, oh my goodness, it was a real hoot. Yeah.
All right. So he's talking about hunting, how much fun they would have, and unfortunately, Bob is an animal rights activist.
What does this mean? So an animal rights activist is someone who's very concerned with protecting the rights of animals. So, for example, if I'm an animal rights activist, maybe I will protest people who wear fur. Or perhaps I will also try and secure land for a natural wildlife preserve so that animals can live in the wild. There's not houses or cars. So animal rights activists are people who try to make sure that animals are protected from human beings.
Okay, very good. And this is what Bob is. So obviously Bob is not really into hunting, right?
I'm guessing no. These are two opposites. You have people who like to kill animals and people who want to protect the lives of animals.
Right. Okay, well, and to finish off our language takeaway, dinner is ready, so let's go out to the patio.
Okay, a patio is a space outside the house, usually in the back, that's paved. So there's like cement or bricks or some kind of tile. And that's where you have a table and chairs or some place to sit and rest. This is where you have a grill. So it's an outdoor area, but it's not grass.
Okay, so it's not your backyard. Oh, it could be in your backyard. The patio could be in the backyard.
That's right, but the ground in the patio is not grass. It's some kind of material like cement or brick.
Or wood. Okay, very good. So great words there. Why don't we listen to the dialogue again? And we'll be back in a bit with Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, we're back. So we have 3 great phrases here on Fluency Builder. Why don't we start off with the first one?
So the first one, we have to go back to the very beginning of this dialogue and think about these people who are introducing each other for the very first time. Cindy says, I want to introduce you to my fiance, Bob. Bob says to Cindy's parents, I've heard so much.
I've heard so much. Okay, so this phrase, you can usually use it when you meet somebody for the first time. I've heard so much about you.
That's right. So the longer version is I've heard so much about you. Basically, you're saying, listen, Cindy talks about you a lot. I've heard really nice things. Sometimes people like to joke. You say, I've heard so much about you. They say, I hope only good things.
Yeah, or I hope not too much.
I hope not too much. So this is a very polite way to respond when someone introduces themselves.
Okay. I've heard so much about you. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Exactly.
Okay. So they started talking, and actually Thurston offers him a drink. He says, well, what do you want? Whiskey, bourbon? Pick your poison.
All right. This is one of my very favorite phrases in English. The father-in-law wants to give the new son-in-law a drink, and there are many different options. So pick your poison means pick your drink. You might hear this at a bar. What do you want to drink? Well, pick your poison.
Right.
You could have whiskey, rum. So usually we're just talking about alcoholic drinks.
Okay, so you wouldn't really use this for juices or water or something like that.
Nah.
Okay.
This is for alcohol.
Okay, so if you say pick your poison, that's for alcohol, right? Or maybe you can ask somebody what they're drinking. You would say, what's your poison?
Yeah, what's your poison?
Okay.
So poison in this case is a slang term for alcohol.
Very good. And finally, when Cindy was talking about lemonade that her mother makes, she said she makes it from scratch, to make something from scratch.
You could say, my mother makes chocolate chip cookies from scratch. This means to not to buy something in the store, but to make it all yourself from nothing. So making lemonade from scratch means taking lemons, cutting them, taking the juice, adding some sugar. So you're making it from nothing.
Okay.
You're not using some kind of kit or some kind of, canned drink from the store.
Okay, so for example, maybe some Italians in Italy make their spaghetti from scratch with flour, and they knead it and they make everything from scratch.
Wow, so you don't buy a box of spaghetti, but you actually have to cut the spaghetti and pull it, and
Exactly.
yeah, very, very hard work.
So to make something from scratch, and usually you can add the something goes in between, right? To make lemonade from scratch, make bread from scratch.
Make ice cream from scratch.
Okay, so those are our 3 phrases for today. Let's listen to the dialogue for one last time, and we'll be back to talk about this very, very interesting topic.
Mother, Father, I'd like to introduce you to my fiancé, Bob.
Hello, Bob. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet the both of you. I've heard so much.
So, Cindy told you about bringing home her last boyfriend then. That idiot.
Thurston, you're going to scare the poor boy. Come in and have a drink. Dinner will be on in just a bit.
What'll you be having? Whiskey, bourbon? Pick your poison.
If you have a lemonade, that'd be great.
Lemonade?
Why, sure, there's some in the fridge.
Mother makes her own lemonade from scratch. It's the best.
So, what are your hobbies, son? If you want, we can do some hunting tomorrow. I've just picked up a new rifle I've been meaning to try out. Should be a real hoot.
I'm not really, I don't really hunt.
You don't hunt? Well, I'll be damned.
Bob is an animal rights activist. He doesn't believe in harming animals.
Dinner's ready. Let's go out to the patio where the pig is roasting.
Roast pig? I'm a vegetarian.
This is a very scary topic for a lot of people. I think they get very nervous introducing themselves because, in this case, Bob is going to be marrying Cindy. So these are going to be his in-laws forever.
Yeah, and it seems interesting the differences, as you mentioned before, between the father-in-law who's very much into hunting and drinks and likes roast pig, whereas this guy is more of an animal rights activist, doesn't drink.
He's a vegetarian. He doesn't eat meat.
So I think it would be very complicated. And I think this happens a lot also with people from different cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're Asian and you're marrying an American or something like this.
Yeah, that's right. I think it can be very, very difficult. I recently went to a wedding between a Chinese girl and an American guy. And it was amazing to see all these people getting together because the families were so different. But they all got along really well. It was really fun. They were all very supportive. They were just excited for their kids.
Yeah, but I think it can be a little bit difficult, right? I mean, being in a family where the culture is so different or the traditions and the customs are strange to you.
But it's exciting because then as a family, the young people who are getting married, they can pick the traditions they want and make new traditions.
Mm-hmm. So this is a very interesting topic. We want to know maybe if you are married, how did it go when you met your in-laws? Are you very different or did you get along very well? Or how is it in your country?
In-laws, understanding family relationships. What are in-laws? When two people get married, their families become connected. The in-laws are the family members of a person's husband or wife. These family members include mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law. Learning about in-laws is important because they are a big part of family life. Common words and phrases about in-laws. Here are some useful words and phrases related to in-laws. Mother-in-law, the mother of your husband or wife. Father-in-law, the father of your husband or wife. Brother-in-law, the brother of your husband or wife, or your sister's husband. Sister-in-law, the sister of your husband or wife, or your brother's wife. Son-in-law, the husband of your daughter. Daughter-in-law, the wife of your son. Extended family, a family that includes in-laws, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Blended family, a family where people have step-parents or step-siblings. The role of in-laws in a family. In-laws are important in many cultures. In some families, they help take care of children, support each other, and celebrate holidays together. In many countries, people respect and care for their in-laws just like their own parents and siblings. In some cultures, a person may live with their in-laws after marriage. This is called a joint family. In other cultures, married couples live separately but visit their in-laws often. Common phrases used with in-laws. Here are some useful English phrases when talking about in-laws. I get along well with my in-laws. This means you have a good relationship with them. My mother-in-law is very kind. A simple sentence to describe your in-law's character. We visit my in-laws every weekend. This means you spend time with them regularly. Sometimes it is difficult to adjust to new in-laws. This shows that relationships with in-laws can take time. Family gatherings include my in-laws too. This means your in-laws join family events. Challenges with in-laws and how to handle them. Sometimes, people may have challenges with their in-laws. These challenges could be due to different opinions, traditions, or misunderstandings. Here are some ways to handle such situations. 1. Respect differences. Every family is different. It is important to accept and respect their traditions and culture. 2. 3. Spending time together doing activities together, like having dinner or celebrating holidays, can improve relationships. 4. Being patient. It takes time to build a strong bond with in-laws. 5. Showing kindness, small gestures like giving gifts or helping with work can make in-laws happy. Idioms and expressions related to in-laws. Here are some idioms and expressions related to in-laws and family. Blood is thicker than water. Family relationships are the strongest. Like one big happy family. A family that gets along very well. Ties of marriage. Relationships formed through marriage. In-laws and outlaws. A humorous way to talk about in-laws, comparing them to outlaws, criminals. The importance of in-laws in society. In-laws play an important role in society. They provide love, support, and guidance. In some cultures, in-laws help take care of children, share responsibilities, and give advice. In-laws can also help during difficult times such as illness or financial problems. A good relationship with in-laws makes life happier and less stressful. It helps create a strong family bond and a good support system. Conclusion. Understanding in-laws and their role in family life is important. By learning English words, phrases, and expressions about in-laws, English learners can improve their speaking and communication skills. A good relationship with in-laws is based on respect, understanding, and kindness.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Scratch. Pick your poison. Pick up. Roast. Activist. Well, I'll be.
Let's try that faster.
Scratch. Well, I'll be. Pick up. Roast. Activist. Pick your poison.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Scratch. 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 Pick up. Pick up. Pick up. Well, I'll be. Well, I'll be. Well, I'll be. Activist. Activist. Activist.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another lesson at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and in the spirit of Halloween, we have a Halloween lesson for you.
Happy Halloween. It's Halloween.
It's Halloween, and this is an elementary level lesson, so we're talking about some basic but important things today.
Exactly. So we're not going to preview anything because the dialogue is pretty simple. So why don't we listen to it for the first time and we'll be right back.
Trick or treat.
Tom, aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?
What are you talking about? Where's your Halloween spirit? Didn't you ever dress up in a costume and go around the neighborhood trick-or-treating with your friends?
Of course I did, but when I was 10, trick-or-treating is for kids. Plus, I'm sure people will think you're a kidnapper or something, running around with kids at night.
Whatever. I'm going next door. I heard Mrs. Robinson is giving out big bags of M&Ms.
All right, we're back. So trick-or-treating.
Ding dong.
Ding dong. Trick-or-treat. All right, so we're going to explain what trick-or-treating is just in a little bit. But before we get into it, why don't we take a look at 4 important words in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, the first one, Marco, is very important because it's the name of this special holiday that isn't celebrated everywhere. It's only celebrated in some places, and Americans, I think, love it above all else.
Right, yeah, Halloween. Now, this actually comes from All Hallows Eve, right?
That's right. So it's the night of the spirits of the dead.
Right, exactly. So the Day of the Dead. And as Catherine mentions, it's celebrated in different ways in different countries, but I think probably the United States is one of the few where people dress up and go trick-or-treating and things
That's
like
right.
this.
And
right.
Halloween is the last day of October, so October 31st. And it's a really fun holiday where mostly children dress up in costumes and they ask for candy.
All right, so to dress up means to get in a costume?
Right. Well, you could say dress up to mean a couple of different things, but in this case, you dress up in a costume. So that means you change your clothes so that you're wearing a costume, which is maybe a witch's costume or a vampire or something scary.
So you would say he dressed up as a vampire.
He dressed up as a vampire, or they got dressed up for the wedding.
Okay, very good. So dress up. And then we have the word kidnapper.
So the friend is afraid that his friend will look like a kidnapper if he
Right.
goes out trick-or-treating with the kids.
Right.
And so a kidnapper comes from the word to take or to grab. So kid grabber. And that means that you're going to take children from the streets and steal them.
Right. But you can kidnap an adult, right? So it's not only for kids.
That's right. It's for any kind of person who you take without them wanting you to. So against their will.
Okay, kidnapper. And finally, we have M&Ms. What are M&Ms? Not the singer,
M&Ms?
right?
No, M&M is spelled differently, the singer. This is a delicious chocolate treat. It's a candy, and it comes in big brown bags. And if you want them with peanuts, they come in a yellow bag. And
You
it's,
know your M&Ms.
Oh man, I could tell you all the colors. But M&Ms are really delicious, and it's actually a brand, M&Ms.
It's a brand. Right, so many people will probably know it, but just in case, they're called M&Ms. Very good candy. All right, so these words were relatively easy and simple, so why don't we listen to our dialogue again? Let's slow it down just a little bit, and we'll be right back to take a look at Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, we're back. So on Fluency Builder, we promised that we were going to look at this word trick-or-treating, so let's look at it now. Trick-or-treat, it's a verb, right? To trick-or-treat.
To trick or treat, and it comes from the words that we say when we're children to the person whose door we knock on. So, for example,
Okay.
I say,
And then I open the door.
trick or treat.
Okay, so what are you supposed to do in this when somebody says trick-or-treat?
Well, I'm a child. I'm holding my bag, and you're supposed to say Happy Halloween and give me some candy.
Okay.
All right. So trick or treat means you could either trick someone. You could play a trick on them, like scare them or put some toilet paper on their house, or you can give them a treat. Or accept a treat. And so the idea is, if you don't give me a treat, I will do something bad to you.
I see. But this doesn't really happen, right? Like when
really.
kids go to people's houses, they say trick-or-treat and then they get candy automatically.
Almost automatically, yeah. Sometimes people avoid the holiday and they close their doors and lock them and they don't answer the door.
Yeah.
And that's when someone maybe throws an egg at the house or,
or
does
puts
something
toilet
mean.
paper on their tree.
Yeah. So trick or treat is what we say, but it's also something we can do. So we can go trick or treating.
Go trick-or-treating. Right. Okay. Very good. Trick or treat. And now we have another phrase here that's a little bit complicated. But when the friend answered the door, he said, "Aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?"
All right, I like this phrase because it's sarcastic. The person is not asking a real question. He's saying, listen, you are too old to
Right.
be trick-or-treating. And so in this case, aren't you is a way to introduce something that we know is true, that we think is true. It's kind of rude and sarcastic.
So if I say, "Aren't you supposed to be at work?"
Oh,
Right?
shoot.
So it's in that form. You're not really asking a question. You're more demanding an explanation.
Right, it's a suggestion. It's like, you're probably supposed to be at work right now.
Right.
So Marco, aren't you supposed to be at school right now?
So do we always, but we always use it in that sense, right? Aren't you? And then,
Yeah, aren't you? Aren't you a little old for that kind of an outfit?
all right. So aren't you? All right, very good. So those are the two phrases for Fluency Builder today. Let's listen quickly to our dialogue one more time, and we'll be right back.
Trick or treat.
Tom, aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?
What are you talking about? Where's your Halloween spirit? Didn't you ever dress up in a costume and go around the neighborhood trick-or-treating with your friends?
Of course I did, but when I was 10, trick-or-treating is for kids. Plus, I'm sure people think you're a kidnapper or something, running around with kids at night.
Whatever. I'm going next door. I heard Mrs. Robinson is giving out big bags of M&Ms.
All right, so Marco, have you ever trick-or-treated?
I did. I used to go trick-or-treating when I was little, and it was actually really fun.
We used to have competitions about who had the most candy.
I've heard about this.
Right, because you don't necessarily bring a bag, you bring a pillowcase.
Right.
And you fill your pillowcase with candy.
Now, the interesting thing is that sometimes you wouldn't necessarily only get candy from people.
Right, sometimes you got weird things like pennies or toothbrushes or apples.
Yeah, so you would go to someone's house and they would give you an apple. You'd be like, okay.
But there was always an old lady who lived near, she lived in the neighborhood, and every neighborhood had one, you know? All my friends had a lady they would go to, and she gave the full-size candy bars.
Wow.
Right? Because normally stores sell small candy bars for the Halloween holiday because they're smaller, they're cheaper, it's easier to give them to many people. But there's always one person who has the big full-size candy bars, and everyone goes to her.
Right, exactly. And actually, it's amazing how Halloween is such an important event in the States because everyone dresses up, everyone puts out decorations or pumpkins outside of their homes. They have pumpkin carving contests, which are really cool, how they carve out pumpkins.
They make faces in the pumpkins, and then we can put a candle inside to light it up. It's really fun.
So that's called a jack-o'-lantern, right?
That's right.
Why is it called a jack-o'-lantern, do you know?
I have no idea.
It's
Maybe
weird.
it's like a person, looks like a person's face.
Maybe a jack.
Because a lantern is a light, you know,
Right.
it's like a light with a candle in it, so.
Yeah. It's actually it's a very fun holiday. It's really interesting, and it's kind of strange when people really oppose it because they say that it's it has to do with the devil, or it's a pagan ritual and things like this. But it's just good fun.
It's fun. It's silly. Everyone likes to dress up in a costume.
What was the weirdest costume that you've dressed up as an adult or a child? Because I know you've dressed up as an adult as well.
I dress up every year. I was Pippi Longstockings last year. Well, as a child one year, I dressed up as an injured soldier because, my dad was in the military, so we always had fatigues around the house. And so I used his fatigues and I, put blood on my face and I had crutches. And people thought that I really had a broken leg.
Wow.
So they used to give me double. They gave me that year, they gave me double the candy because they thought, oh, here's a poor girl in crutches.
And trick-or-treating.
And my costume was an injured soldier, so they just didn't understand it. It was really funny.
Nice. Well, we want to hear about you guys if you go trick-or-treating or if you dress up for Halloween. I know that many places around the world have parties or festivities for Halloween and people dress up. So come to our website, englishpod.com. We'll see you guys there, and we'll see you guys next time.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Be not. Be not. A children's Halloween practice of asking for treats. Trick or treat. Attire in clothes suited to a particular role. Dress up. To seize and detain or carry away by unlawful force. Kidnapper. To go all over the place, to move quickly from one place to another. Run around.
Let's try that faster.
A children's Halloween practice of asking for treats. Trick or treat. Attire in clothes suited to a particular role. Dress up. Be not. Be not. To seize and detain or carry away by unlawful force. Kidnapper. To go all over the place, to move quickly from one place to another. Run around.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Trick or treat. It is common for young kids to go trick-or-treating on Halloween. Trick or treat. Last year when I went trick-or-treating, I got enough candy to last for a whole year. Trick or treat. Many parents don't allow their children to go trick-or-treating because they think it's dangerous. Dress up. When I was 8 years old, I dressed up as Superman for Halloween. Dress up. Many people don't like to dress up on Halloween. Dress up. It's cute to see all the children dressed up in their costumes. Be not. The teacher gave out the exams. Be not. Our company gave out Christmas bonuses this year. Be not. I hate Halloween. Why do I have to give out candies for free? Run around. There are so many kids running around that they are driving me crazy. Run around. I saw your dog running around the front lawn this morning. Run around. Pete's cat is running around here somewhere, so make sure to close the door. Be not. Aren't you a little too big to be playing with those kids? Be not. Aren't those pants a little too small for you? Be not. Isn't that shirt a little too old to be wearing it to a dinner party?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have a very serious dialogue for you.
That's right. We are going to talk about a will and testament, the last will and testament of someone.
All right, so what is a will and testament? Well, basically, this is a document that someone writes, usually with a lawyer, that explains what to do with the person's body and their possessions, their things, after they die.
Right.
So many people write these, and the family will then use it to discover who gets to receive certain objects and what to do with this person's body.
Right. Exactly. So that is a last will and testament. We are going to take a look at an example of one so you would see more or less in English how one is written. Now, obviously, they can be very long and very complex. So we've taken one that has some interesting words there that are a little bit more specific, a lot of legal terms there. So why don't we listen to this dialogue for the first time, and we'll be back shortly.
Last Will and Testament of Luke Thompson. I, Luke Thompson, residing in California, being of sound mind, do hereby declare this instrument to be my last will and testament. I hereby revoke all previous wills and codicils. I direct that the disposition of my remains be as follows. I am to be cremated and taken to the summit of Mount Everest, where my ashes will forever remain at the ceiling of the earth. I give all the rest and residue of my estate to my spouse, Betty Thompson, should she survive me for 60 days. If my spouse, Betty Thompson, does not survive me, I give all the rest and residue of my estate to English Pod. If neither Betty Thompson nor English Pod survives me, I give all the rest and residue of my estate to my heirs as determined by the laws of the state of California relating to descent and distribution. I appoint Robert Porter to act as the executor of this will, to serve without bond. Should Robert Porter be unable or unwilling to serve, then I appoint Jason Smalls to act as the executor of this will. I herewith affix my signature to this will on this, the 23rd of May, 2010, in the presence of the following witnesses, who witnessed and subscribed this will at my request and in my presence.
All right, we're back. So now we're going to take a look at 5 key words on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Okay, the first word here in language takeaway comes from the very beginning of this, monologue. We're reading the last will and testament aloud. I, Luke Thompson, residing in California, being of sound mind. Sound as an adjective. What does this mean?
That's very interesting. So he says, I am in sound mind, and sound is an adjective to describe I am in a good state of mind.
That's right. So it means not having any problems or logical or unaffected.
Basically, I'm not crazy, right?
Right. I'm not crazy. I don't have any problems. We can say this about other things, too. We can say he's of sound body.
Right. That means that he is healthy. He has no problems with his body.
Or I could say, Marco, that's a really good decision. It's a sound decision.
So, again, that's also a way of saying good or...
It will work.
It will work. It's a good decision.
It's feasible.
Yeah. So you can use this adjective with sound body, sound mind, or a sound decision. Or sometimes some people even say, I think in Ireland, they say, oh, he's a really sound guy.
Oh, so he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I learned something.
So sound body, sound mind, sound guy. Moving on, he was talking about the will, and he says, I hereby revoke all previous wills and codicils.
The verb here is to revoke.
To revoke.
This is something that a lot of people hear in America when they drive their car too fast.
Yeah.
The police catch them, and the police revoke their driver's license.
And that basically means to take away.
That's right.
To take, right?
To take away from. So this man here, Luke Thompson, what he's saying is, I revoke all previous wills. That means any other will that I wrote before, it's not good anymore.
Right.
I'm throwing it away. This is the only one that will exist.
Mm-hmm. So you can use this word revoke with many aspects. For example, sometimes employees will get their benefits revoked by the company because maybe they don't have enough money anymore.
Or maybe they're bad employees.
Or maybe they were bad employees.
That's too bad.
All right, so to revoke. Now, moving on, he was talking about his estate. So this is very interesting because he says, I give all the rest and residue of my estate to my spouse.
Okay, estate, it sounds like a very fancy word. It is a fancy word. Sometimes we use this word to mean someone's property, their house.
Mm-hmm.
But in a will, this means everything the person owns. House, car, things, pets, stocks, investments. The estate is essentially everything the person owns as a kind of one unit.
Right, exactly. So anything that is yours or you may have bought, just consider the estate is a big bag, right? That's your estate. And inside this bag is everything that you own.
You might see advertisements, in fact, in America or in England for estate sales. This means that when someone passes away, when they die, their family will sell their things, and this is an estate sale. You can find beautiful, interesting interesting things that estate sales.
Exactly. Very interesting. So that is a person's estate. Now remember, this is in the legal terms because you also have other things like real estate and as you mentioned, which would be a house, right? Okay. Now apart from his estate, he was telling everyone as to how they should take care of his body or what they should do with it. And he said, well, I am to be cremated.
Okay, this is important. When a person dies, there are generally two options. Their body can be buried in a casket in the ground. That means they're put in the earth. But a lot of people choose to be cremated.
All right.
Okay, that means that their body will be burned. And their ashes, that means the things that are left after they are burned, they will be taken somewhere else.
Right.
Like in a bowl or a pot.
Right. And in this case, that's what the person wants. He wants to be cremated. So that would be the verb to cremate. And the noun would be a cremation.
Cremation. And what is going to happen to all this stuff? Basically, it's going to be given away to his wife, to English Pod, and to his heirs. This is our next word. What is an heir?
Now, if you notice, the H is silent there. So his heirs. And those are basically his children. His daughters or his sons.
Right. My heirs are the people who are related to me, who, in this case, will receive some of my things.
Now, is it only the children, or also it could be maybe any other relatives?
It could be any other relative. You could say, I'm his heir, he's my great uncle. Means we're related, but we're not necessarily father and daughter or grandfather and granddaughter. An heir is someone who is related to the family. It doesn't have to be a certain relationship.
And now it's interesting because from this word we can get inheritance. Now we didn't find it in the dialogue. So it's very interesting because they're very similar in spelling, right? Inheritance and heir.
Right. Good to remember.
Yeah, good to remember. You switch the E and the I's, right?
That's right. So inheritance is a thing. You can receive this. So I received an inheritance from my great-grandmother. That means I received some money or some things.
And that means you were that person's heir.
That's right.
Okay.
Or, in his inheritance, he received a large house. He was the heir to a great fortune.
Okay, interesting. So again, inheritance wasn't in the dialogue, but I think it's worth mentioning. And I think now we can move on to 4 very interesting items that we have for you on Fluency Builder.
Okay, these first 2 are words that we normally read or hear in legal documents. And I want to place emphasis on the fact that we don't really say them in spoken English. So remember that these are more formal terms.
Yeah.
The first one is hereby.
Hereby.
I hereby declare.
Right.
That means now.
Now.
With this word, with this spoken sentence, this will happen.
I think we've seen it like in movies sometimes. It's like, I hereby declare this country in the name of England.
I hereby declare you man and wife.
Exactly. Okay.
That means in this moment, this happens.
Okay. And a very similar word that we also saw in the dialogue is herewith.
So in the will and testament, we hear Luke Thompson who says, I herewith affix my signature. That means with the action of signing my name, signing my signature, this will be completed. Okay. So I herewith, you have to have an action, not just a word.
Okay,
That's
so
the difference.
I herewith
attach my seal. Okay, a seal is like a stamp, very common in the old days when you had real letters. But I herewith attach my seal and give my approval to this document.
Okay, so it has to be something physical.
Yeah.
Right? So if maybe you're writing like this very classic letter and you say, I herewith include a lock of my hair.
Ooh, how romantic.
Okay, that's kind of creepy, but
Yeah.
but you're including or attaching physically, right? I guess the modern version of herewith would be attach.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Herewith, hereby. But we've got another phrase here that you might hear more commonly. At the beginning of the will and testament, there's a phrase, as follows, okay? I direct that the disposition of my remains be as follows. So, with my body, do as follows.
So, basically, this is a very common way of putting this in a sentence to indicate that you're going to start to list items.
That's right, or give instructions.
Give instructions.
So, for example, to make a loaf of bread, do as follows. Number 1, get some flour. Number 2, add some water. So this is a way for us to say, listen, I'm going to give you instructions or a list. Pay attention. So please do as follows. Please act as follows.
Okay, very good. And our last word that we have here, going back to herewith, he said, I herewith affix my signature. What does it mean when you affix?
Okay, affix is a word we have a number of other words for these days, so you rarely hear it. It means to attach or to include.
Okay, so I herewith affix my signature would be attach my signature.
Right, I provide my signature, or I herewith affix my address, or I herewith affix something.
Okay, very good. Really interesting stuff. You'll obviously see this very commonly with legal documents such as these. Even though it is like older English, it's still very commonly used. I guess because the law is so old.
That's right, definitely. And I think that it's worth listening to today's monologue one more time. Think about some of the words that we've just discussed, and we'll be back in a moment.
Last Will and Testament of Luke Thompson. I, Luke Thompson, residing in California, being of sound mind, do hereby declare this instrument to be my last will and testament. I hereby revoke all previous wills and codicils. I direct that the disposition of my remains be as follows. I am to be cremated and taken to the summit of Mount Everest, where my ashes will forever remain at the ceiling of the earth. I give all the rest and residue of my estate to my spouse, Betty Thompson, should she survive me for 60 days. If my spouse, Betty Thompson, does not survive me, I give all the rest and residue of my estate to English Pod. If neither Betty Thompson nor English Pod survives me, I give all the rest and residue of my estate to my heirs as determined by the laws of the state of California relating to descent and distribution. I appoint Robert Porter to act as the executor of this will, to serve without bond. Should Robert Porter be unable or unwilling to serve, then I appoint Jason Smalls to act as the executor of this will. I herewith affix my signature to this will on this, the 23rd of May, 2010, in the presence of the following witnesses, who witnessed and subscribed this will at my request and in my presence.
All right, we're back. So this is a very interesting topic. Now, I wonder, within the will or within the estate, do you also acquire a person's debts?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I know in some countries you do, in some countries you don't. I know in like some cases, some heirs have found themselves in some legal problems because all of a sudden they inherited that person's debts and stuff like that.
I think that does happen, especially for people whose properties are mortgaged. For example, if your uncle has a house and he didn't pay for it with cash, he has a mortgage, and he dies, and you inherit this house, you also inherit the mortgage.
Yeah.
So sometimes inheritances are not always a good thing. I think this happened more in the past. There are more protections and safeguards for people today.
Right.
But definitely, I mean, what is it like in Ecuador? Do people inherit debt?
Yeah, I think obviously most banks, when they give out loans or a mortgage, they have somebody that will kind of co-sign on these things. And I imagine, I'm not really very sure, but I know that if you inherit an estate that has a mortgage, you are forced to pay it. And if you can't, then they will make that other person who co-signed it responsible if he still exists. I don't know. In these legal systems, it's sometimes very strange because it seems like there would be a lot of gaps.
That's right, and everyone wants to protect themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got the bank that wants to protect itself. It gives a loan. It wants the money back.
Right.
And a person who wants to protect himself from maybe a relative who dies and has debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know what our users have to say. What is the situation in your country? Do most people have a will and testament? What happens with debt?
Or what happens if somebody dies and they don't have a will and testament?
That's a good question, too. I don't have an answer for that one.
All right, so let us know, and we'll give you guys some information on that as well. EnglishPod.com. We'll see everyone there.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Live in a place permanently. Reside. Free from disease or injury, in good condition. Sound. By means of or as a result of this. Hereby. A paper made to settle property after one's death. Last will and testament. The body of a dead person. Remains. The highest point, top. Summit. Everything you own, all your assets. Estate. Choose someone to do a particular job. Appoint. Add or append. Affix. To sign at the end of the will or contract. Subscribe. A person's partner in marriage. Spouse. Cancel. Revoke.
Let's try that faster.
The body of a dead person. Remains. Cancel. Revoke. Choose someone to do a particular job. Appoint. A person's partner in marriage. Spouse. To sign at the end of the will or contract. Subscribe. Add or append. Affix. A paper made to settle property after one's death. Last will and testament. Free from disease or injury, in good condition. Sound. The highest point, top. Summit. By means of or as a result of this. Hereby. Live in a place permanently. Reside. Everything you own, all your assets. Estate.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Revoke. His driving license was revoked by the police. Revoke. My parents revoked my phone privileges. Revoke. The court decided to revoke the terrorist's citizenship. Remains. The remains were transferred to the morgue. Remains. A cemetery has the remains of many people. Remains. The police covered the remains with a white sheet. Estate. Bill Gates' estate is valued at over $1 billion. Estate. A person's estate is comprised of all assets which are held in the descendant's name alone. Estate. The family divided the estate equally among everyone. Hereby. I hereby declare you husband and wife. Hereby. I hereby resign as President of the United States. Hereby. We hereby commit to obeying the laws of this country. Appoint. The President appointed me as the Vice President. Appoint. My teacher appointed me as the classroom monitor. Appoint. He was appointed as the child's legal guardian.